Welcome to the Rehumanization Station. I'm your collaborator, Christopher Jones, aka Dr. X, and this podcast is an extension to my Flippin' and Vibin' brand where Vibers seek to transform narratives in society, education, and sport, and a variety of other sectors. And today, we have another video because we actually did one already.
Oh, you're just telling everyone the secrets.
I gotta tell them because maybe so they have more of an idea of like the conversation, how it'll flow. But basically, we did an episode, and what happened was the mic didn't work on the recording.
No, you couldn't hear my voice.
We're here again. Just a little technical glitch, but we're here again. Thank you for coming. So today we have our Valiant Viber named Bambi with us today. So Bambi, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. The sun is shining in the northeast. It's lovely.
Yeah, so
nice
maybe
and warm.
Better weather today. Maybe better, I would say, better production. Yes, but we have a back end just in case this doesn't work out. But I'm sure it's going to work out.
Sure, it'll be fine.
But Bambi was born in Northwest London and now lives in Durham, but is now currently going to move to Darlington.
Yeah, it's a big change, but that's still Durham.
Right.
Still
I mean, technically, yes. Okay, got you. But it's a town in Durham.
Yes.
Got you. Because before you were in Chesterley Street.
Yes.
Or right now you're in Chesterley Street.
Yes.
Okay, got you. Bambi works for a supported employment service run by Durham County Council. The service is called Durham Enable, and they support people 18 plus who identify with disabilities, learning difficulties, and mental health needs, find and maintain meaningful paid employment. So today is going to be a really important conversation around learning difficulties, disabilities, and mental health, right? So Bambi and colleagues have also just launched their service podcast, Voices of Supported Employment, which she happens to be the host of, and it's on Spotify, any other platforms?
It's on Apple, YouTube, our YouTube channel,
it's in the beginning stages, and I would definitely encourage people to listen to it because the few episodes that are on there are very, I would say, enlightening and transformative, right? And also, Bambi is currently working on building a coaching and mentoring company that focuses on empowering women and girls with disabilities, with faith being the central aspect of the work. It's called Her Ability Co. Right? And also, Bambi also has a podcast herself that will be starting up again shortly called Don't Miss Her Ability. And it's a really good podcast. I've been listening to it. It's really good.
Oh, well, thank you.
I'm trying to figure out which episode it was. I don't know if it's episode 4. You talked a lot about understanding our story.
Yes.
And we'll definitely talk about something about that today. And then lastly, Bambi currently sits on the board of trustees for a charity called Growing Hope, which offers free occupational therapy for children with additional needs. And Bambi will be hosting a podcast called Growing Hope in relation to this. And like you just said, is this the charity that you have an event for today?
Yes. So we have the fundraising dinner today, and I've started recording for the podcast Growing Hope Conversations. So started those episodes as well. So that's great. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Is it you or is it guests or
me? I'm the host, and then guests. Yes.
Right.
So guests from all walks of the Christian faith.
Got you. Now, that's a bit of Bambi.
Yes, just a little bit.
A little bit. I mean, it's a lot. So it's going to be a really good conversation. Like I said, we done the show already, and it was a really good interview. And I'm sure today will be just as great, if not even better.
Yes.
But again, for my vibers who are listening, this is the part of the show where we just vibe and allow listeners to get an idea of your background and some of your personal interests, right? So, Bambi, what's your story? Tell us a bit about yourself.
My story. Well, as you said, I was born in Camden town, Northwest London in 1980, all those years ago, 45 years ago now. 1980. Man. Yeah, it was a good year.
And that's why I said last time, I was like, you, like I said, you don't look your age, you look way younger, but that's what we're talking about, black don't crack.
Exactly that.
Okay.
So I was born in Camden town, lived there for maybe the first 10 years of my life before we moved just in the same area, but over to kind of Wembley side of London, and people will know that for the football ground and things like that. So lived there. I'm the eldest of 5 girls, all girls. Everybody says, really, all girls? They're like, yeah, but then there's family with all boys as well, but family with all girls. So that was interesting.
And that's where we have that connection, because there's 5 of us as well.
Yes.
But it's the opposite. So,
Yeah.
but there's 4 boys and one girl.
And one girl. Yeah.
She's the oldest.
Yeah, that's the same actually with my husband's family, 4 boys, 1 girl. So yeah, from both of us from big families. So yeah, the 5 of us, we are children of Nigerian parents. They immigrated as students to London. So that's where they met in London and then had all of us. So went to school. All of my school and education was in London. And I mean, I'll get on to the fact that, around the age of 15, I was diagnosed with a disability. I have a visual impairment called it's called Stargardt's disease or macular juvenile degeneration, these long words, but basically my central vision is severely impaired. And I think when I think back, I started to kind of notice this around the age of 11. But it wasn't till I was 15 that it was properly diagnosed. So that's kind of like the disability side, kind of, me as a person and as a human being, that's not the only thing that defines me. I'm married. I'm a wife. I've been a wife to Tim French for 23 years. We were counting yesterday. We were thinking, when's 25? What jewels do I get at 25? Apparently none. So I have to wait a little bit longer for the jewels. But 25, nearly 25 years. We have a very beautiful daughter, Madison. She is going to be 21 this year. She's a singer, dancer, actor. She just entertains us all the time. So that's fun.
And that is with Gateway Studios.
And she's currently doing some work with Gateway Studios in Gateshead, interning. But she's at university studying musical theatre and all things creative. So yeah, a pretty creative family, the 3 of us. And yeah, interesting. People say, well, you only had 1 and you're both from, families, big families. But yeah, we only had 1. But I always say every child I was ever going to have is in that package right there. That is Madison. I look some days and I think, oh, you're a different child today. You're that child today. Okay, that's the one we're going with. So yeah, but that's fun. And then yeah, just involved with all things faith, church. We're currently in transition with churches with the move, but I really try to use my faith as kind of like the steer for what I do. So the work I do with the charity, which is faith based as well, with Growing Hope, is centered around the Christian faith. The charity supports people from all faiths, right, but it's definitely something that I do because it aligns with my beliefs and my values. So yeah. And
about how is the community in terms of your faith? Is it big out here? Is it
yeah, it's pretty I mean, yeah, it's pretty big. You will always find your people. You can always find there's lots of churches. It's not like London. It's not like London where you have, literally a church on every corner, and different types of churches as well. You have huge big churches. I used to go to a church that was probably termed as like a mega church, that had different sites. And when we'd get together, you have the huge big African churches, that my parents have been to. But yes, in the Northeast, there is a thriving, church community, and big and small. And when you find the place that you fit, it's good. Yeah,
that's good. And now in terms of we talked about this. What about hobbies and like your passion? Yeah. So what activities bring you peace, love, and happiness?
Oh, well, I love music. I'm a lover of music. Always been, since early, remembering my dad on a Saturday morning getting the vinyl records out. Loved looking at the artwork and playing those, playing those songs. Lots of R&B, lots of gospel, lots of pop, all different things. He had even, classical music. He would country music. He would expose us to it all, and that was great. Loved to dance from a very early age. I was always very kind of, anytime there was a beat, I was up. Top of the Pops, the music channel, I was always dancing in front of that, always told to get out of the way so everyone else can watch as well. So I was in it. I was, in it. And even though I didn't kind of follow that music, professionally, I can see that I can definitely see that in Madison, that, it's like a, it's like a version of.
Because you said you could sing, right?
I haven't been told, yes.
But do you sing for I'm assuming you may have a church choir?
Church, yeah. So leading worship in church, yeah. So my husband and myself, we met at university, and we met in the church. We were students in the church, so we've been leading worship together since for 25 years. He plays guitar and sings, and I sing.
Nice.
And yeah, so leading worship in church has been kind of the way in which I've expressed and used that talent, I guess, to bless other people, and it's a joy. And then I sing when I cook. I feel like I'm singing love into the food.
No, that's
sing when I cook.
That's actually a real thing.
Yes, yeah.
That's good.
Sing when I cook. Sing when I'm, sad. Sing when I'm happy. Dance. If I hear that riff from "I Want You Back," Michael Jackson 5.
Yes.
If I hear it. Honestly, I'm up on the dance floor. If I hear it in the supermarket, I have to actually tell myself, you are not in. You have to control yourself.
So you like the timeless music, where it's Absolutely. Like it never ages, never gets old.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. That's where I am. That R&B and the gospel as well. The old school. I mean, I say it's old school, but Kirk Franklin, Fred Hammond, all of that.
We're getting up there in age, Wow.
Yeah.
Speaking of Kirk, Kirk Franklin. Yeah. Amazing. He actually has a podcast that's actually really good. I suggest people. I don't know if you heard it.
I haven't heard it. No.
It was like there's a recent episode. It really just came out. Last a couple of days ago on YouTube. I definitely encourage people to listen. It's like it's called. He sits down with like four black men and they talk about fatherhood, etc. I'm trying to figure out what it was called, but it's on his YouTube page.
Yeah. Okay.
I was listening to it yesterday.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Yeah. He's making a kind of resurgence, isn't he? He's coming back. He's like coming to with the newer artists like Maverick City and Elevation. He's coming. You kind of hear him now on different tracks. So
I actually performed one of his songs at my church when I was.
Oh wow! Which let me see if I.
This was late 90s.
Yeah.
I was like 9 years old.
Yeah.
And I led one of the songs when I was 9.
I can't, from the God's Property album.
I think it's
Stump.
Yes. Damn, that's a good guess. Yes. So I led, right? I did the rap verse, the rap part and everything. Man. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's on video, but I gotta look at that again. I don't know if the church has to still have it.
Yeah, I want to see that.
But I did so well, right?
Yes.
They made me do the verse again.
Yes.
On the same log. So, but I'm not a singer by any means. But I was in the church choir. I was the tenor.
Yeah.
And I was an usher.
Yeah.
When I was in the church.
That was a cool album. That one, God's Property.
And speaking, you talked about R&B as well. Yeah. What stage of R&B is it for you?
I don't know about stages. I don't know. Like, or anything like kind of Motown.
Yeah.
Stevie's in there. Okay. Whitney's in there. Do you know all of those kinds of
Temptations?
Yeah, all of those sorts of things, and then later on, like Boys to Men and that. I feel like I stopped. I stopped acquiring new music about 1995. Maddie's always telling me, you need to listen to more things, and she'll now give me things to listen to, and I'll be like, oh, I like that, and then I'll listen to that over and over. So but that kind of era of R&B and pop, just anything with a good vibe, really. I'm not that fussy, just really not very heavy metal stuff. I can't do that.
Okay,
that's about the only type of music that I can't like.
Okay,
it's difficult.
Got you.
Yeah,
there's things that there's actually something tomorrow in Newcastle. It's called like old school bingo. I don't know if you've ever heard of it before, but it's like they do it all around England, and it's old school R&B and hip hop, like early 2000s,
Oh,
90s,
yeah.
and they just play it throughout the night, and you play
Yeah.
bingo with it. So
Right.
I may go there, but we'll see.
Oh, well,
We'll
I don't
see.
think I've got time together, but it sounds fun.
Yeah, but
Sounds like it would
maybe
be fun.
I might go.
Yeah,
But they do it periodically in different places in England. Okay, so music. What about interest in terms of the work that you do, like on mental health, learning difficulties?
I always think about my work. I guess the work I get paid to do, my day job, my 9 to 5, and how that kind of spills out into my whole life. And I think that has come as a result of my lived experience with a disability. So I have grown up with a heart of compassion for anyone going through what I went through, and maybe worse. You know, you can look at it and say, oh, it's worse. So everything that I seem to do, whether voluntarily or paid, is aligned with supporting people, helping people, empowering people with disabilities or with any kind of additional need. So I trained as a teacher when I graduated from university, and I quickly went into working with children with special needs, additional needs. I never say anything's by accident, you know. There's purpose in everything.
Right.
But I could do that, and I could do it well because, you know, I was 26 maybe at the time when I started teaching. So that was really only 10 years. You know, when you look at the timing, you think it's only 10 years since I was diagnosed, and still trying to work through actually what my disability meant for me and what I could do and what I could not do. But I was able to speak into the lives of children who were going through similar things, you know, and I, you know, even there were girls in particular who I came across who had visual impairments, you know, and their mums would come in and they'd be really just, what are we going to do? And I would say, even in my short experience of living with a visual impairment and going through that same thing, I was able to speak encouragement into them and show them that you know, progress was possible.
Okay, in terms of that, because your story is very, I would say, very inspiring. Could you walk us through? Because you found out in the later stages, right? Could you just walk us through your journey when it comes to Stargardt?
Yeah.
Could you just walk the listeners through that?
Yeah. So like I say, when I think back now, I think I think my sight started to deteriorate when I was about 11. I could see perfectly before then. I could do anything that I wanted to do. But I was about 11, I think, when it started to deteriorate. But I didn't kind of say anything until around 12, 13 years old, when I was like, okay, this is an issue. Maybe we need to go to the opticians and try and get this figured out. Right. Went to the opticians, and, you know, had tests and was prescribed glasses, you know, as you do. And I was given them, and I very quickly knew that that wasn't working, but I thought, well, I just need to give it more time. Gave it a little bit more time, still no change. So then went back to my parents and said, look, this isn't working. We need to try something else. So we went to a different optician who noticed through the examination that there was an abnormality in my eye when they were doing, you know, looking, and they weren't sure. But they said, we're going to send you to Moorfields Eye Hospital, which is like world-renowned eye hospital, you know, in London. We're going to send you there for more tests because we're not sure what is going on. We can see there's something. I failed all of like the tests. Like, even I think I could just about read the big letter, but everything else just didn't work. So yeah, kind of fast forward to getting that appointment, going into that appointment, and it was an entire day. I remember it being very early in the morning. We had to get there for maybe 9 o'clock start or whatever. Dilation drops, cameras, flashes, look at this, can you read this, can you see this, and it was constant, more dilation drops because that they wear off after a few hours, and I was there the whole day. So they were doing a lot of tests. It was quite exhausting. And getting to the end of that day, I remember sitting in the room with my mum and the consultant, who basically said to me, yep, you have this condition, and your sight will get progressively worse. It is very likely that you will be blind by the time you're 30 years old. I don't think I heard very much more after that, because you at 15 you're thinking, oh, I'm going to be driving a car soon. This is what I'm going to do next. All of those sorts of things. Those are the conversations you're having with your friends. And then for somebody to tell you that's at least the driving the car thing. Let's just put that. That's pretty important for a teenager to be thinking about what their first car is. At least that, that's not actually going to be something that you will ever be able to do. Okay. So leaving the hospital, I remember I couldn't. It was getting dark because it was the end of the day. But I remember I couldn't see because of the just the sheer amount of drops that were in I couldn't see at all. I mean, like today I can walk and see things, but actually with those drops, if anyone's ever had them, that they mist up your eyes. You can't see anything for it takes a while for it to wear off. And I always think. I think I had my mum's arm. She had my arm because it was busy roads in London. I think she was crying. I don't know. And I remember her saying, "Okay, we can't tell anybody about this. We'll just pray about it." That's I think that's a whole different podcast in itself.
Yes, it is.
But yeah, but I remember just feeling so. Yeah, just like what's gonna happen now? I was also really hungry. Hadn't eaten very much all day. It was like,
wow, okay, so
hospital kind of snacks here and there, but you never knew when you were going to be called for the next test, so it was hard to kind of say, okay, we're going to go and have some lunch now. So I hadn't really eaten properly, so getting some food was pretty important for me at that point. So my mum took me for some food before we went home.
But how did you feel at the time, at that moment, when in terms of this is what you found out? You were hungry.
Yeah.
But then in terms of just that you couldn't voice it to anyone outside of your immediate family.
Yeah, I think at the time, and I think when you're still living at home and you're still with parents, you kind of you do as they say. I know there's kids who don't do as they say, and there may be one or two of my sisters listening who can recognize that. But generally, you do what they say, don't you? And at that point, I mean, I've had a lot of time to reflect on it, and it wasn't the best. But I didn't tell anyone, so I went back to school. I went back to school the next day, actually, because by the time I had slept and things like that, the drops had cleared, and I really liked being at school. I loved learning, I didn't want to miss school, and actually that was the point at which we were preparing for the first big set of exams, the GCSEs. So I didn't want to miss school, and I loved being with my friends and things like that. But going to school after that, and then just knowing that this was going on with me, and thinking, well, I'm not allowed to tell anyone, and getting further and further behind, not being able to see what the teacher was writing on the board, not even be able to read my textbooks well enough. The tech wasn't what it is today, so there wasn't anything that I could kind of mask or hide behind. If I'd had a phone, maybe I would have been taking photographs or trying to do something to kind of get myself through, but I couldn't do any of that. So it was after a while that I'd gone back home, and I'd said, look, I can't do anything in school. I can't do anything. I'd learned a coping mechanism, which was, I remember standing outside of the science block, and it was biology lesson. And I'd figured out after a few weeks that the teacher was, as she was writing on the board, she was actually saying everything she wrote. Now, when you don't have a barrier like a visual impairment, and you can just kind of pick things up as you go along, you know, kids in class will kind of talk to their friend, and then they can catch up with where they are because they can see what the teacher has written. I didn't have that option. So I worked out that as she wrote, she was saying everything she wrote. So I figured, okay, if I, you know, steady myself before the class, so not get involved in all the banter that was going on in the line outside, and just kind of think, right, I need to focus now, and I go in and I listen, I can get those notes down. I mean, that is exhausting, because there was no rest for me, because I had to just keep up and listen to what she was saying. I couldn't just be distracted by the person on the left or the right of me. That wasn't an option. So I learned to cope for a while until that, you know, but that 5 lessons a day gets exhausting, you know. And I know that lots of people have coping mechanisms, and we talk about masking a lot. All of that is involved in that, but it gets tiring. So eventually I had to say, look, this is causing a problem for me. You know, my mum went into school, told school, and then very quickly support was put in place. You know, it didn't actually take very long. It can take longer now, and as a special needs professional, I've seen it take longer, just because of the sheer number of children who need support. But at the time, I felt like it happened quite quickly. I got support in class. I got a note taker. I started to get things enlarged, you know, and things started to happen as well as they could in 1995, 96, whenever it was. So,
do you, man? Okay, thank you for sharing that, and like that shows, man, so much resilience and you know, how do you think it was then compared to now? What are the differences? If like say, if you were going through what you're going through, if you went through what you went through now, like if another people did, what do you think the differences are now within education? Is there a bit more resources around that, or?
There's absolutely a difference, a massive difference. If we're talking specifically about a visual impairment, I think the way in which technology has moved forward means that actually it's not even like a massive deal anymore. It doesn't need to be.
Okay.
In terms of accessing material. You know, because you can put an iPad, what an iPad will do to help somebody transform the way in which they access information, and that is not just the printed information or the electronic information, but the audio functions that there are now. If I'd had audio books or audio kind of, you know, I did languages at A level. Those dictionaries, I mean, you imagine those old Oxford dictionaries, having to read those with a small glass magnifier, and you had to get it right with the light and everything like that. So in terms of access to school, I think we are so far ahead. You know, school and any kind of, you know, workplace. We are in a place where that shouldn't be an issue. I think when it comes to sort of how people perceive themselves when they are diagnosed with a disability, that is still where work needs to be done. Because when you're told, you know, for want of a better phrase, when you're told there's something wrong with you, your mind immediately goes to, well, I'm broken in some way then. I'm not a whole person anymore. You know, yesterday or a few years ago I could see, and now I can't see the way I used to be able to see. I can't pick up a newspaper. I can't just pick up a newspaper or pick up a book and sit on the sofa and read a book. I have to think about, okay, how am I accessing it? Where are all these, you know, things coming from to help me do that? I think the inner work and the inner kind of feeling of confidence or not confidence, your self-esteem, your self-worth, I think that is something that everybody needs to pay attention to. We can fix the stuff on the outside. We can fix. We can find ways around that. But actually, if the inside is still, if on the inside today I was still thinking, I'm not any use to anybody. I won't be any use to anybody. Which is, I used to think that. I used to think, well, how will I have a family? How will I do the things, that I want to do? And there's lots of things that, that I still want to do. How will I do those things if I can't see very well? And it does knock your your confidence gets knocked, And if I was still thinking like that today, I wouldn't be half those things that you read at the beginning that I do. Right. I look at them sometimes and go, oh my goodness. that girl who walked out of Moorfields Eye Hospital, she had no clue. You was hungry for knowledge and hungry for activism. That's what you was hungry for. Absolutely, probably, yeah. Alongside the burger. Alongside the burger.
Just activism on the side.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing. Now, I was going to ask a bit about how much do you think family has to play there, especially the Black family, and how if there's been any differences in terms of being able to move beyond this notion of we need to just sit with it, pray about it, and see what happens. I know that's still prevalent in terms of just mental health in general within our community.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we can save that for another episode, so I can have you back. I'm sorry if I'm being selfish when I say that.
No, that's okay.
But,
that's okay.
But thank you for sharing that. But okay, so when it comes to your experiences, and how you've navigated them, who could you share a particular? Is there anybody you think who has been extremely influential in your life?
Do you know you can
keep going.
He'll thank me for saying it. Oh, well, I think he will thank me for saying it. But I have to say, I absolutely have to say that it is my husband, Tim French.
Okay.
I met him in the first year of university. And he'll say, it was the October, actually. We started in the September, the end of the October, I met him. And he'll say that I wasn't very nice to him when we met him, which is probably the case. I was like, who is this guy? And I think all he asked me was what my name was and where I'm from, but I'd had that conversation like 700 times before I bumped into him, so it was so I was quite dismissive of him, but what's meant to be is meant to be, and we figured it out. So in the sort of the March of that first year, we started dating, and he's very different to me. He's like, we are like chalk and cheese. If anybody like they see us together and you're like, really? yeah. I mean, there's difference. He's white, I'm black. There's difference, visible difference you can see. But actually in character, I always say to him, there is literally no other man on this planet that could have married me and still be here 23 years later, because I'm just, I'm it's work.
But they always say opposites attract.
It's work. And I kind of, when I look at him sometimes and I think, there was no other woman for you either. But that is not another podcast.
Okay.
But yeah, he was absolutely instrumental in me finishing my degree, because still in the early 2000s it wasn't the support that I got support, but it wasn't what I needed to be able to read what I was reading and do the work that needed to be done for my degree. And early in my second year, I'd said, this is way too hard. I can't keep up with this reading. I can't read these books fast enough. It was just too difficult. And he says, what are you, we're not quitting. We're not. And that was the first kind of like, okay. Really? Well, how do you propose we go forward with this then, Tim French? He says, well, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to read these books to you. So he was like my first audiobook.
Oh, wow. Go ahead, Tim.
I will read this to you and we will write these essays together. And that's how we're going to get through it for now. And that's what he did. He sat with me and read pages of things that he probably didn't even understand what he was reading sometimes.
Wow.
But
how did you feel at that time, when that moment? When
I wanted to fight against it.
okay.
I wanted to. I guess it was like well, are you really gonna stick around, and do this? I couldn't believe that somebody who was also studying for a degree was gonna spend time with me, and do that for me. And at that point, we'd only been dating a year. It wasn't like anybody was proposing to anyone or anything like that, But
Right.
it was. I could see. And I see now that he's somebody that God placed at the right time in my life. Yes, we have the same faith and we have the same, but I could see and his heart and his patience with me and his kind of, okay, you want to cry today about this? Go ahead, but tomorrow we're going to read this book. We don't quit. And it's been that story kind of all the way through. When I've hit a block, when I've hit a time when I've said, this is just too much, I'm done. He's just like, no, we're not.
Yes, okay.
So yeah, him definitely. And then just his creativity. He's an artist, so his creativity has always inspired me. I always looked at him through university and beyond, and gone, if only I could be as creative as that. If only I could. And slowly, I'm learning that actually I am, and that he gives me the freedom to say, yeah, I want to try that. And he's like, well, go ahead and try that. So he's definitely been someone I think, God sent. And I've got these pictures at home. I put the three of us at similar ages, and there's this picture of Tim dressed as Superman, and who was like 6 or 7 years old. He had this mask on and this homemade cape that he made, and he's standing there. He's not one for being in front of people, even though he's a teacher and things like that. He'd rather just stay by himself. But I look at that and I just think, you didn't know that you were going to be somebody's Superman.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's cool connection.
So, yeah.
Wow, that's a love story right there.
Yeah,
oh,
absolutely.
Wow. Okay. Well, shout out to Tim.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's amazing.
He'll be blushing now when he hears this.
Shout out to Tim. Okay. Now, thank you for sharing that. And so, what about in terms of challenging moments? I guess we've kind of went through that in terms of. I guess it depends on if that's depending on how you define as challenging, right? So, what are some challenging moments in your life, and how have you navigated them?
I think quite a big challenge for me. There's been a lot. We can talk for hours.
So
my book, but
yes.
I think one major defining challenging moment was when I went to Spain for the year. I studied languages at school at uni, as I said. So I was in Spain for a year in Madrid. Which was a great experience, but preparing for that time abroad wasn't like it would be now, where people would make sure that somebody with a disability, somebody with additional needs, had what they needed before they got on a plane and went to a different country. But no, that wasn't really the case. It was like, here's the university you're going to, that's what you're doing for the year. See you in a year, kind of thing. Right. So, and I didn't really think at that time either, as I would think now for the people that I support. Okay, what are the adjustments that are needed for them? I didn't think about it. I just kind of I went to Spain. So I got there with my bags. Didn't know where I was going. Jumped in a taxi. I knew I had to go to the university, so that's where I asked to go. Signed in there, got registered there, then said, where do I stay? Where do I live? No one had told me anything about accommodation. So actually, when I think back, I was like, I turned up in Spain with nowhere to stay. I mean, that's crazy.
Right.
But they said they just gave me a whole stack of papers, probably about 100 pieces of paper in that stack, and said, here, there's some numbers, go and find somewhere to stay. And I was just like, right, okay. Never mind the fact that if you imagine an A4 piece of paper, that's landscape, and it's got about 30 numbers on it in font 8 or whatever it was, tiny, something that I would, struggle to read.
Right, dang, yes.
So I went back into town, into the city, because I, I'd spent so much money on the taxi going there. I didn't know how much it was supposed to cost. So I thought, okay, I'll figure out the train network. So I figured that out, got back into the city, and then went to just the big telephone exchange building where there were payphones, and just sat there going through these numbers, not being able to see them very well. So it took me a long time to figure out the numbers, what they were, ringing number after number. Nope, no space, no space, no space, no space, no space, and figuring, okay, people have got here before me, because I got there in like the September. So all of the places had been taken. Not only that, it was no space and no, you can't cook your food, because I think lots of people had bad experiences of students leaving their houses in a state, and I needed to be able to cook my own food. I wasn't going to eat out every night. So I did that the whole of the first day. I was in with my bags, everything. Imagine me sitting in this big telephone exchange building, just slotting money into the thing, and just nothing. It was getting to the point where that place was closing, and I still had nowhere to stay. I went and got something to eat, checked myself into like a B&B type thing for the night. I don't think I really slept, because I was really stressed by then. I was tired. My head was hurting. My eyes were tired. I was like, I don't know what am I going to do? I'm like, I might have to just go home, because I don't know what to do. I said, Lord, you're going to have to help me. And he's always helping me. But I just said, you're going to have to help me today.
Yes,
so I woke up. I don't think I had breakfast, just went straight back to the telephone building and just thought, okay, I need a new strategy. For this, because I can't just keep going through these numbers. So I just sat with the paper, the stack of papers in front of me, put my thumb in the papers, opened it up, and put my finger down. Wherever my finger landed, I said, right, I'll ring the number that's just above my finger. So I did that, rang that number. The woman picked up and said, yes, I have a room. Yes, you can cook, you can do that, but the room's not ready. I said, I'm coming now. I'll fix the room. You just tell me where you live. And she happened to be just around the corner from the phone building. It was literally just around the corner. I didn't have to get back on the train or anything like that. And she had a daughter, 11 years old, and that's where I stayed. And managed to kind of ground myself and do the uni thing. Got a job. It was teaching English to Spanish kids in a nursery school. Found a church. Wow. I just started to kind of thought and think, well, yeah, that challenge that could have derailed my whole year in Spain was it was something that I had to just say, okay, I've got to see this through somehow. And it was great. I bought my wedding dress there as well. It's beautiful.
Wow.
The Spanish wedding dress is so lovely. So.
Okay, man, that's a very powerful story.
Yeah.
So faith.
Yes.
Where that gets you.
Mm-hmm.
Man, thank you for sharing that. That's amazing. And what we'll do now is, right, we're going to break this into 2 parts probably, more than likely. So
yeah.
Vibers, thank you for tuning in. I want to make sure we have this recording, and but yeah, tune in for part 2. One love.